Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on the Brian Nichols Show. Thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, and yes, today also not joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios in Eastern Indiana, but rather final episode of our summer vacation series right now as I'm wrapping up in northern New York State. So we're doing things a little different. No interview format per usual. Instead, yours truly, one more solo special summertime vacation episode. Unlike my last episode where I had the Freudian of all Freudian slips, there is in fact no skies in the cloud, but rather no clouds in the sky. Listened back to my episode and I was like, Brian, did you have a stroke? And I realized, no, I must have been enjoying too much of this beautiful and dare I say nostalgic weather I'm experiencing here in northern New York State, where I used to call home sweet home, but now we are out in the great state of Indiana. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Today's episode, it's Independence Day weekend. And I've really been thinking a lot about what does Independence Day mean for us as Americans, especially when we're coupling that with a libertarian perspective. So I thought, hey, let's dig in that today for today's episode, and we're gonna dig into not just the importance of what it means to be an American, but frankly the importance of national pride, the principles that are behind Independence Day, and how these ideas actually connect with, I would say, a large portion of libertarian values. So, yes, it's going to be a little bit shorter than normal, but I promise, again, like I said last episode, next week we're going to be jumping right back into the swing of things. And I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from you folks, so I think we're going to keep doing these special episodes as well. So let's dig into today's topic of conversation. So first and foremost, let's talk about the importance of American national pride. And again, let's dig into this from that libertarian perspective. So when we're looking at July 4th weekend, and yesterday, they're still celebrating today and going into the weekend, but how many of us actually stop and think about why it is we have this holiday? And for a lot of folks out there, it's a long weekend, right? It's another 3-day, 4-day weekend. It's barbecues, it's fireworks, maybe it's a day off from work. But the real meaning, the history, the principles behind July 4th, behind Independence Day, that often gets lost in the shuffle. And here's the thing, it's just not people are forgetting. There's actually an active, growing group of folks out there who are rejecting the vision of the founding fathers. They're rejecting the vision of what it meant for American independence. So what does that mean? They're pushing back against the very ideas like individual liberty, natural rights, and the core principles that are laid out in the Declaration of Independence. The basics: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, or as it was written prior, the pursuit of property. And this is the very foundation of what makes America so unique. So today, we're going to deep dive into why it's critical for us to have pride in American values, especially from that libertarian standpoint. And with that, we'll talk about how these principles tie into libertarian thought, and most importantly, how we can effectively communicate these ideas to the people who need to hear it the most. My goal is by the end of today's episode, I want us all to have a very clear understanding of why our national pride matters, how it connects to our libertarian principles, and yes, how we can bring these foundational ideas back into the modern political discourse and conversation. So, first things first, let's talk about what Independence Day really means. So we're going back and we're celebrating the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. But it's more than just a date on a calendar, right? It's a statement of principles that change the course of human history. Think about it. For most of history, To that point, the idea that just your average, everyday, ordinary person had rights that couldn't be violated by their rulers was frankly revolutionary. And the Declaration states that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that amongst these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, this wasn't just flowery language. This was a radical assertion that turned the whole world on its head. It said that our rights don't come from government. They come from our very nature as human beings. And the purpose of government isn't to rule over us, but rather to protect those rights. Now, I know, I can know what some of you are out there saying, specifically the folks that I was talking about earlier who don't necessarily agree with the founding principles. But Brian, wait, America wasn't perfect. What about slavery? What about women's rights? I hear you. The founders did not live up to all these ideas immediately. But the crucial point here, they set the principles in motion. They created the framework that allowed for the progress, for the expansion of liberty to more and more folks over time. And that is absolutely something we should be proud of. Not because America has always been perfect, but rather because we always have had the tools to strive for something better, to expand liberty, to fight against injustice. Just how can we use the very principles laid out at the founding to help us continue to fight for progress, real progress in pursuit of liberty? Now, let's connect this to libertarian thought, libertarianism, because at its core, libertarianism is just about maximizing individual liberty and minimizing government power. Sounds pretty familiar to most of you, I hope, and it should, because it's exactly what the founders and the framers were aiming for. Libertarians believe in we all have heard this, the NAP, the non-aggression principle. It's the idea that it's wrong to initiate force against others. We believe in the ideas of property rights, of free markets, and the idea that people should be free to live their lives as they see fit, so long as they don't hurt people and don't take other people's stuff. These ideas are deeply rooted in the American tradition. The founders were deeply influenced by thinkers like John Locke, who emphasized natural rights and the idea of government by consent. And they were overtly skeptical of centralized power and believed that liberty was essential for human flourishing. In many ways, libertarianism is carrying on this tradition today. We continue to fight for the principles of individual liberty, of limited government, and of free markets that were pivotal to America's founding. But here's where it gets tricky. In today's political climate, these ideas are often misunderstood or downright rejected. We've got people on both the left and the right who are all too willing to use government power to enforce their vision on how society should work. And that is exactly what the founders were trying to prevent. So, why is national pride important in all this? Well, it's not about blind patriotism or thinking that America is perfect, but rather it's about understanding and appreciating the principles that have made America so unique and have made America that shining beacon of a city on a hill. Like when we talk about American exceptionalism, we're not saying that Americans are better than everyone else, though I know a lot of you say absolutely yes. But what we're rather saying is that the American system that's based on individual liberty and a limited government, that is exceptional. That's the system that has allowed for unprecedented human flourishing and progress. And here's the thing. Being proud of these principles doesn't mean ignoring our flaws or mistakes. It means recognizing that we have a framework for addressing those flaws and for making real progress for expanding liberty to more and more people. Hey folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical. But after using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140 over 90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120 over 80, and my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s, and I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle, and how does it work? It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So, by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at the Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show. Think, think about it this way. Throughout history, most societies have been based on the idea that some people have the right to rule over others. And whether it was kings claiming divine right or modern dictators claiming to represent the, air quote, will of the people, the basic idea has always been the same. Some people get to make decisions for everyone else. And that's where the American system flips this script on its head. Instead, it says that each individual has the right. That it's rather the government's job to protect those rights, and that if the government fails to do so, the people have the right or the duty to alter or abolish it. And that right there is quite literally revolutionary stuff. Now, these principles aren't just historical artifacts. They are incredibly relevant to the challenges that we're facing today. So whether we're talking about government overreach, threats to free speech, economic regulations that stifle innovation and opportunity, these principles of individual liberty and limited government give us the roadmap for actually addressing these issues. Now, here's the other side of the coin. How do we effectively talk about, message, and communicate these ideas? Because, let's face it, in today's political climate, it's not always easy to get people to listen to the ideas about liberty and limited government. So first, what we need to do is understand our audience. Who are we trying to reach? Now, you've heard me argue this in the show, but this is our ideal voter persona, or as we talk about it in marketing and sales, our ideal customer persona, which is, in this case, just someone who values freedom, opportunity. They're skeptical of big government solutions, but also maybe they're not fully connecting those ideas and concerns to the values and the importance of libertarian principles. So how do we reach these folks? That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. Here are a few key points that I outlined, starting with number one, connect to shared values. So start with the things Americans can actually agree on. We all want prosperity, I hope. We all want safety, I hope. We all want the opportunity to live our lives as we see fit. So show how these libertarian ideas support those goals. And then number two, use concrete examples. Don't just talk about abstract principles or the ism. Show how liberty and limited government actually lead to real world results. So talk about how economic freedom has lifted billions of folks out of poverty. Discuss how free speech has allowed for social progress and scientific advancement. Number three, address concerns honestly. If someone's worried about how a libertarian approach would handle issues like healthcare or education, I guess this goes back to what we talked about last episode with the border issue. Don't just dismiss their concerns. Explain how market-based solutions and individual choice can lead to better outcomes. Number four, emphasize the positive, because it's easy to fall into the trap of just criticizing, but we need to paint a positive vision on what a freer society would look like while also addressing where we are currently today. Number 5, connect to American history. Show how libertarian ideas are deeply rooted in American traditions. The founders weren't libertarians in the modern contemporary sense, but many of their ideas align or run parallel with libertarian thought. And number 6, be patient and respectful. Remember, we're often challenging deeply held beliefs here, so it takes time for people to reconsider their views. That means don't expect people to change their minds overnight. We talk about this in sales. Once you help people see something they can't unsee, you have done your job. You have planted that seed, and that comes with number 6 here as well. Be patient. Now, let's get specific on how we can actually apply these ideas in our daily lives and, frankly, in political engagement. I got another 6 outlines here for you. Education. We talk about here in the show. Educate, enlighten, and inform. It takes time to learn about American history and the principles of liberty. So the more that we understand these ideas, the better we can actually articulate them to others. Get involved locally, by the way. Local politics is huge. So city council meetings, school board meetings, these are the places where you can have a real impact and demonstrate how libertarian principles, based on the founders' principles, can solve real-world problems we're facing today. Number 3, support pro-liberty candidates. Look for candidates who genuinely support individual liberty and in libertarian government, in limited government, which, yes, in term would be a libertarian government, but also make sure that you're not getting stuck on the party label. Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, it shouldn't matter. Regardless of political affiliation, support pro-liberty candidates. Number 4, use social media effectively. So share content that better helps articulate libertarian ideas in a more accessible way. So that means engage with folks in a respectful dialogue, and also don't just spend time going after folks who disagree, but rather the folks who are maybe already 50-50 split on what you're bringing to the table from your ideas. Number 5, use personal examples. Live your values. Personally, I'm saying personal examples, like you are the person. Show how libertarian principles can lead to personal success, and also beyond what you are able to get from value, show how it helps benefiting your community and improving the different areas that you outline as big red flags for your local community, your local government. And then number 6, celebrate freedom. Celebrate. Use holidays like Independence Day as opportunities to discuss these principles of liberty with friends and family, but don't do it in the super obvious, uncomfortable type of way. Let it be natural. Meet them where they're at on the issues they care about. Now, let's talk about some of the common criticisms we're going to face when we're promoting these ideas. Brian, you just want to help the rich, right? That's a common misconception we hear about libertarianism, and we all know, right? If you're a libertarian, in reality, economic freedom and markets have done more to lift people out of poverty than literally any government program. So what we need to do is emphasize how liberty creates opportunity, not rather for just the wealthy, but literally for everyone. Another concern, Brian, we need government to solve the problems that the markets can't fix. And here's where we can point to examples of how private initiative and free markets actually have solved massive challenges throughout history. So from innovations in technology to how those innovations have helped improve living standards, the free market, its track record is not only impressive, but it pretty much stands with its accomplishments on its own. Another concern, libertarians, you're so selfish. And this one's important to address because libertarianism isn't about ignoring others. It's about rather recognizing that individuals, not governments, are best placed to help their communities. So we can emphasize the importance of voluntary cooperation and a civil society. And here's another one you're going to hear all weekend, right? And this is the common attack leveled at the founders. And as well, Brian, the founders owned slaves, so their ideas are completely invalid. And let's, again, elephant in the room. This one's tough because it is definitely a contradiction, but it's crucial we address it based on the context of when all this was taking place. Yes, the founders had flaws, but we also need to recognize the power of the principles that they established in the context of the world that they were living in. Like, these principles, they provided the framework for ending slavery 60 years, 70 years, 80 years later, and expanded the rights to all Americans. So let's bring this all together, right? Let's go back to these main themes here. Being proud to be an American isn't about thinking we're better than anyone else. It's about rather recognizing the unique and powerful ideas that our country was founded on, ideas of limited government, individual liberty, and the inherent rights of all people. These aren't just historical curiosities. They are living principles that can guide us in addressing the challenges we face today. So whether we're talking about economic policy, social issues, or the proper role of government, these ideas of liberty and of individual rights provide a powerful framework for creating a freer, more prosperous society. And as libertarians, we're in a really cool and unique position to champion these ideas. Like, we're carrying the tradition of the American Revolution. We're fighting for the expansion of liberty and the limitation of government power. But to do this effectively, we need to be able to communicate these ideas in a way that resonates to your average, everyday American. So this Independence Day weekend, as we enjoy our barbecues and our fireworks, let's also take some time and reflect on the deeper meaning of this holiday. Let's think about the radical ideas that literally sparked a revolution and gave birth to a brand new nation. And let's recommit ourselves to the ongoing work of trying to expand liberty and fighting against tyranny in all of its forms. Remember, the American experiment in liberty, it's not over, it's ongoing. And each generation has the responsibility to understand, protect, and expand the principles of freedom. And we've made just tremendous progress, but there is 1,000% still work to be done. And that work starts with each of us understanding our history, appreciating the principles of liberty, and working to apply these principles to the challenges we face today. So this Independence Day weekend, let's not just celebrate with our fireworks and our hot dogs, but rather with a renewed commitment to the principles that make America really the best place on earth. Let's be proud of our heritage of liberty, and let's work to ensure that this heritage is preserved and expanded to future generations. So I think that's all we're going to have for today's episode. Folks, I hope this gave you some food for thought as you celebrate this Independence Day weekend. And remember, being proud of America and our heritage is not about just blind patriotism, but rather understanding and appreciating the principles of liberty that make our country so special and so unique. So with that being said, if you got some value from today's episode, please go ahead and give it a share. When you do, tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. You can find me on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Also, for the Brian Nichols Show, you can find the podcast version of the show in all of your favorite podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, and more. Or if you're more of a visual person, head over to your favorite video app: YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, wherever it may be. We are uploading the entire show of the Brian Nichols Show in its video entirety, excluding our summer vacation series here, because you don't want to see me right now. I promise I still have my sunburn, and it is not pretty. Also, still next to not a cornfield, not an alfalfa field. This is a soybean field, by the way. I learned that over the past few days as I was recording here. So, yes, you don't want to see that, but we do have all of our video versions of the show over on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Facebook. Head over there, hit that subscribe button, and if you get some value beyond going ahead and subscribing to the show, I would appreciate any love and support you can give us in terms of sharing the show, letting us know your thoughts. Email me, brian@briannicholsshow.com, or if you want to continue the conversation, head down below into the comments, let us know your thoughts. And with that being said, one final plug: please continue to support our amazing folks who support us, and that is our sponsors, like our amazing studio sponsor, Cardio Miracle. Even though I'm not in my studio, they are still sponsoring us here at the Brian Nichols Show. So kudos to Cardio Miracle, plus our good friends over at Liquid Freedom Energy Tea, the best, not even a question, the best energy drink you can get, minus all of the harmful chemicals in your traditional energy drinks like your Monsters and your Red Bulls. 7 ingredients, folks. You can't beat that. So head over to Liquid Freedom, grab your energy tea, wherever you, by the way, get your various goods from our sponsors. Just make sure you use code TBNS, because that's going to give you a discount at checkout. It could be 10% off here, 15% off here, $5 off here. So just make sure you go ahead, use that discount code, because not only are you supporting our sponsors, but in return, you're supporting us here at the Brian Nichols Show. So, I think that's all we really have for you guys. Again, if you got some value from these special little summer episodes, I want to hear it. Let me know your thoughts. Head to our email, brian@briannicholsshow.com. I want to hear what your thoughts have been. And hey, is there any other topics that you want to do a deep dive breakdown into? Give me a shout. I want to hear what your thoughts are, and we can go ahead and do a short episode on it. Talk about the importance of that topic and how we can effectively communicate it as libertarians. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know. Again, email me, brian@briannicholsshow.com, or let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. Okay. That's all we have for you guys. Thank you for another phenomenal week here of shows. I love you guys. You are seriously the best audience in the world. Thank you for just continuing to support us and to continue to support our sponsors. It means the world to me. And I promise you, as we move forward here through 2024 into 2025, which I know, folks, it sounds like it's so far away. It's literally already the halfway point for 2024. So 2025 is right around the corner, and we have some really cool things coming down the road here in store for you. So with that being said, that's all we have for you. Go enjoy your July 4th Independence Day weekend. Remember why we have it. And with that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.